The worst cartoons that were actually fun to watch.
She's a cow!
Hello?
Hello! Did you just say you were a cow?
Uh-huh.
Aha! Gotcha!
Help! Help, Big Brother! Help!
Alright, let's be real. Cartoons have a way of making us feel nostalgic, even when we know they weren't exactly the peak of entertainment. But sometimes, the worst cartoons are the ones that stick with us the longest. Today, we're diving into the worst cartoons that were still stupidly fun to watch. The ones that had us glued to the screen despite their weirdness, terrible animation, or lack of plot.
Handle, good buddy, over. The name's Perkins. Mr. Perkins.
These shows were chaotic, nonsensical, sometimes downright awful, and yet we couldn't get enough. We're about to roast some of our favorite childhood disasters. And by the end, you might even feel a little bad for loving them as much as you did. Let's get started. Let's kick things off with a show that should have come with a warning label. Happy Tree Friends. It looked like a kid's show, bright colors, adorable little animals. But in reality, it was just a setup for some of the most brutal violence ever animated. You'd tune in thinking, oh, this is cute, and then, bam! Within minutes, you were watching cute little creatures getting decapitated, crushed, or blown to smithereens. Who thought this was a good idea? Did Happy Tree Friends even have a plot? No. It was all about watching cute characters meet their gruesome fates in the most creative ways possible. And yet, despite the carnage, we couldn't look away. It was like watching a car crash unfold, except with adorable squirrels and bunnies. And let's be honest, part of the appeal was seeing just how far the creators could push the violence while keeping the characters cute. Each episode was a new grotesque way to destroy these innocent characters, and for some weird reason, we kept coming back. Was it because we were all secretly twisted? Or was it just because there was nothing else like it? Either way, Happy Tree Friends earned its spot on this list for being simultaneously one of the worst and most entertaining cartoons we ever watched. Next up, let's talk about a show that felt like a fever dream from start to finish.
About tell Mom and Dad that it's you who crows every morning at sunrise.
Cow and Chicken. First off, the basic premise is wild. A cow and a chicken as siblings, raised by parents who are literally just a pair of legs. No explanation, no backstory, just legs walking around like it's completely normal. And we accepted it. We didn't even question it back then, which says a lot about the kind of TV we grew up with. Cow and Chicken thrived on crude humor, fart jokes, burping contests, and entire episodes dedicated to bizarre concepts. Remember the episode about eating butts? Yes, butts. The show wasn't subtle about its gross-out humor, and somehow that's what made it so memorable. If you didn't catch the endless butt jokes, you probably missed the whole point of the show. And let's not forget the red guy.
Those come here, sailor eyes, that kiss and tell. Oh.
Hey, pal! That is my sister you got your mitts all over, and if you know what is good for you, you got...
The pantsless devil-like character who popped up in almost every episode to cause chaos for no apparent reason. He was always there, making things weird with his naked antics, and somehow, we loved him for it.
You don't like my cooking? Well, that's too bad!
What do you recommend?
Cow and Chicken didn't care about logic or storytelling. It was pure chaos in cartoon form, and we ate it up. Sure, it made no sense, but that's exactly what made it so fun to watch. What kept us coming back to Cow and Chicken? Maybe it was the unpredictability. Maybe it was the humor that was so bad it was good. Or maybe it was just that we loved embracing the weirdness. Either way, this show was a perfect storm of nonsense, and we couldn't look away. Now, let's talk about a show that somehow made its way into the hearts of kids, despite being downright terrifying. Courage the Cowardly Dog. Seriously, who thought it was a good idea to put this level of nightmare fuel into a kids' show? Courage was this scared little dog constantly saving his clueless owners, Muriel and Eustace, from the most terrifying creatures imaginable. Ghosts, monsters, ancient curses. You name it, Courage faced it. Remember King Ramses from Return the Slab? That episode alone was enough to keep me awake for a week. And don't even get me started on Freaky Fred, who just wanted to shave everyone bald. How did this pass as children's entertainment? It was dark, eerie, and often downright disturbing. But somehow, we couldn't stop watching. Every episode felt like a mini horror movie, with Courage running around in panic while Muriel and Eustace were completely oblivious to the danger. The stakes were always high. If Courage didn't save the day, his owners were toast. The show balanced its creepy factor with just enough humor to keep us hooked. And despite all the terror, there was something sweet about Courage's devotion to protecting his owners, even when he was terrified 90% of the time. Courage the Cowardly Dog might have scared us senseless, but we loved it for its mix of horror and heart. The show made us laugh, cringe, and hide under the covers, all at the same time. Now we move on to a slightly lesser-known gem, I Am Weasel. This show was actually a spin-off from Cow and Chicken, and it followed a similar pattern of absurdity. Weasel was the heroic, smooth-talking main character, while IR Baboon was his bumbling, clueless sidekick. Together, they made one of the most ridiculous duos in cartoon history. The whole show was based on Weasel solving problems and being amazing at everything, while Baboon just messed things up badly. The best part? The show made no attempt to explain itself. One minute, Weasel is saving the world. The next, Baboon is licking windows. And somehow, that worked. Baboon's underpants-wearing antics were the highlight for a lot of us.
I are having bigger talent than idiot you.
You couldn't help but feel sorry for the guy, but his sheer stupidity made him lovable in the most absurd way. The humor was ridiculous, the plot lines made no sense, and the show didn't care at all. But that's what made it great. It was pure cartoon chaos, and we loved it. Let's not forget the classic duo, Pinky and the Brain. This show was a mix of genius and stupidity rolled into one.
Turn it off, Pinky.
Every episode followed the same formula. Brain, the self-proclaimed genius, comes up with a convoluted plan to take over the world. And Pinky, his well-meaning but brainless sidekick, somehow manages to mess it up. The running gag was that we all knew Pinky was going to ruin the plan, but the fun was in watching how he'd do it. Brain's plans were so over the top, they were bound to fail, but Pinky always managed to make it worse. His nonsensical one-liners, Narf, Zort, and goofy personality made the show endlessly entertaining. And even though you knew how each episode was going to end, you kept watching because it was just that much fun. Sure, Pinky and the Brain was formulaic, but it was smart enough to know what it was, and that's why it stayed so fresh. It didn't take itself too seriously, and that's what made it one of the best bad cartoons out there. Finally, let's talk about the king of gross-out cartoons, Ren and Stimpy. This show didn't care about boundaries, it reveled in pushing them. Ren, the high-strung psychotic chihuahua, and Stimpy, the dim-witted, happy-go-lucky cat, made for one of the most bizarre and disturbing pairs in cartoon history. Every episode...
Ren, you'll smack me. When have I ever? You idiot.
Every episode was packed with over-the-top grossness. From Stimpy's booger collection to Ren's violent outbursts, nothing was off-limits. The infamous Happy Happy Joy Joy song and Ren's constant meltdowns became iconic. even though the show often left you feeling like you needed a shower after watching it. Ren and Stimpy didn't care about being good. It was all about being weird, disgusting, and unforgettable. And somehow, that's what made it so fun. It didn't follow any rules, and for that, it became a cult classic that still sticks with us today. So, what have we learned today? These cartoons might not have been award-winning masterpieces, but they sure were fun. From the weirdness of Cow and Chicken to the terrifying nightmares of Courage, each of these shows had something that kept us coming back for more. Maybe it was the chaos, maybe it was the humor, or maybe it was just that they were so bad, they were good. At the end of the day, sometimes the worst cartoons make the best memories. So, what about you? Which terrible cartoons did you secretly love growing up? Let me know in the comments, and hey, if you made it this far, you've survived some of the weirdest and most entertaining shows of all time.